before I start, um, I need to be brutally honest and let you know I'm not gonna hold back. Um, yes, I will be speaking about Joby's part in what happened. I will be speaking about events that led up to it. And I get that he's not here anymore. However, whether he was here or not, I would still be sharing this because I am truly proud of who I am and what I have been through. And instead of looking at February 26th as a day of sorrow, I look at it as a day of awakening. I look at it as a reminder to myself to stop and look what the last 2 years has brought me. The last year, the anniversary has brought me. And I'm proud of myself. So, let's get into it. So, a few days before my attempt, that weekend was really busy. So, Joby's birthday was on the 24th. Julia's baby shower was the 25th, and my attempt was on the 26th. So, okay. So, anyways, on Joby's birthday, we went to, I believe we just did something at home that year, because I believe there was chemo going on and whatnot. I just remember it just being very low key. And then we had Julia's baby shower the next day, and I had been planning it, and Joby had been in the hospital and everything else. And anyways, I woke up that morning and I could tell how the day was going to go based on the atmosphere in the house. And so we had been fighting, and anyways, he was laying in bed, and you know how I could tell he was talking to somebody on his phone. And anyways, I was like, who are you talking to? And he's like, don't worry about it. And I said, well, who are you talking to? And anyways, he said, oh, I'm talking to a friend. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, let me see your phone. Because I am very much about transparency. You know, you can ask for my phone anytime. You know, and I expect the same in return. I was not expecting him to be texting Summer, because out of respect for her and privacy for her, I'm not going to go into detail. However, I had asked Joby to hold off on talking to her. And he went against that, which is like one of my big no-nos. I don't care who you talk to. I really don't. I mean, full transparency, if you want to go hang out with another female, spend the night at somebody's house, you know, fine. Just be honest with me. Be real with me. That's just who I am. And I'm not going to go into further detail on that, but that's that's how I live, and that's how I've lived for a lot of years. And he knows that. He knew that. And so he finally handed over his phone. And it said that I was bitching. And anyways, the last message I saw was, I just need a shovel and some duct tape to keep her quiet. And I lost it. I threw my phone and I said, if that's what you want, that's what you're gonna get. And mind you, I had already been going through a mental health crisis since October, and this is now February, and I'm still, I was going through it on top of taking care of him and taking him to his appointments and, being Johnny on the spot and being completely present for my daughter who was pregnant and everything. And I just lost it. I was like, fine, you don't want me, nobody wants me. And that's where I went. It was like an all or nothing moment for me. And I grabbed my pills and I got in my car and I took off, and I turned off my Life 360. I stopped answering the phone. I knew exactly where I was going and exactly what I was going to do, and I had everything that I needed. And so I was on my way up to Washburn, and because that was always a place I could go, that was always kind of a constant. A lot of really good memories are there, and a lot of conversations have taken place up there for me, and it's my spot. And so as I'm driving up the hill, my phone, this number keeps on calling me. And I finally answer it, and it was Lynn County Sheriff's officer. And he asked me where I was. And I said, you don't need to worry about that. And I hung up. Somehow in the midst of it all, I don't know, he found out where I was at. And he met me up there. And by then, I had already taken some pills. I was crying. I was really upset. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted to do what I was going to do and be done. And I was writing a letter. And so he pulls up. My daughter pulls up. She's big pregnant. And they somehow, I don't remember this part very well, but gave me the option to either go to the hospital or be taken in by ambulance. And I said, no, I'm not going by ambulance. I don't have that kind of money. And so he agreed to let my daughter drive me to the hospital. And I believe he followed us there. And they took me right back. I had to take off my clothes, and I had to wait for Lynn County Mental Health to come. And by that point, they had taken everything. They had taken my phone. Everything. And so I came up with a safety plan. And because I had already signed up for PHP, Partial Hospitalization Program. And so they knew I was already in crisis. And I didn't want to stay in the hospital. I really didn't want to stay in the hospital. At that point, I think I at a point of just being like, okay, 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 okay. And I remember Julia talking to me in the car on the drive to the hospital. And she just said, Mom, what are you doing? I didn't want to do this anymore. I was tired of the fighting. I was just tired of everything. She goes, but you got a grandbaby on the way. So, back at the hospital, I talked to Lynn County Mental Health. They let me go home. I had to have my daughter take over my medications. I couldn't have my medications in the house. And, you know, to be honest with you, at that point, Joby and I were already sleeping in separate rooms. He he was not very nice. And he accused me of a lot of things that weren't true. I mean, we had just gotten back from our cruise and everything. And, you know, he's accusing me of taking money and everything else. And I'm just like, you spent the money that I had and I paid the bills and you've known the plan. And it was just, he blasted it. He blasted it all over Facebook. And he spoke poorly about my kids and everything. And so I had decided that I was just going to sleep in the spare room. And then I started the partial hospitalization program. And I don't even know how long I did that. 12 weeks, I think. It was a long time. And I was in daily therapy. And then when I was done with the partial hospitalization, I went to counseling twice a week, and then I met with a therapist weekly. So 3 times a week I was getting support. And what was odd was when I went to the partial hospitalization thing, and when I went for orientation, Joby went with me. And I asked him, I said, are you gonna be there for me like I've been there for you? You know, I mean, I never missed a chemo appointment. I never missed a doctor's appointment. I mean, I was there. I supported him. And I asked him if he was going to be there for me. I just needed to know that I wasn't going to be doing this alone. And he said, yeah, I promise. And he drove me the first day. And then after that, either my daughter, my son-in-law, or I drove myself. During that time, he asked me for a divorce because, you know, he had his surgery, and then all of a sudden I wasn't needed anymore. He was cancer-free according to the doctors. He didn't need me. And my darkest moment, I would assume that the man that I supported and changed everything for, I mean, absolutely everything in my life, I changed to be with him. And now I'm in a locked psych unit by myself. He wasn't there to support me. Honestly, my mom, my dad, Summer, and Julia and Isaiah were the ones that supported me through that. And I realized in that time that I didn't need anybody to better myself. I didn't need a man to better me, because I was capable of doing it on my own. And I wish Joby was here so that I could thank him for the way he treated me. Because I found a strength in myself that I didn't know I had. And I wouldn't have found it if it wasn't for the way that he treated. Remember, the day that he asked for the divorce was Easter Sunday that year. And I had gone to my parents, and at that time my parents asked that he not be around because of what he had witnessed with the police activity, with the arguing, everything. It was just not, they weren't about it. And I remember that day because he had asked for the divorce, and then I had reached out to Summer because by then Summer and I had gotten really close. Her and I started comparing notes, and it was actually kind of comical to see what was going on and how we were being played against each other. Now we're the best of friends. I mean, she was there the day he died. She's been there at the 2 o'clock in the morning phone call that I just can't stop crying because I think she is the one that truly knows the sorrow that I feel in losing somebody. That I love the way I loved him, because I know she loved him the same way. I know she did. So on Easter Sunday, after I got home, I told Joby that Summer was coming over to get a bookshelf that he had put together for her. And he didn't respond right away, and she had come over and she had gotten it. And anyways, he told me to drink bleach and die. Not even 2 months after me trying to end my life, that man was pushing, suggesting that I wasn't enough to be on this earth. And I remember him coming home that night, and I was in the second bedroom. I was watching a movie, and he comes in, he has a mouthful of food. And yelling. And I'm not going into detail on that, but I will say that that was the day I realized I needed to move out. So I gave my notice, asked for some help from people that I didn't even know, and you know, my son-in-law knew, and so they came over and helped us move. When I left, I checked the washer and dryer because I bought it. Even though I was going to go in storage, I wasn't. I was at that point, I was done. And I left him 1 plate, 1 cup, 1 knife, 1 fork, 1 spoon, and 1 pot. I took everything. I didn't care. And So I had moved out, I believe it was in May. And anyways, over the next couple of months, I lived at my parents'. I was working on getting a place for myself. And then he had reached out to me saying that he was having the reversal surgery done for the colostomy bag that he had. And he asked me to be there because I knew his medical history and the medications, and I needed to be there. And by then we had kind of, he understood where I was at, that I was getting my own place, that I wasn't going to support, I wasn't going to be in a relationship like that anymore. And so he had his surgery, and then on the operating table he had a stroke. And I went home that night, and I went back to my parents' house, and anyways, the nurse called me and said, he's not waking up, is this normal? And I said, yeah, he's usually a heavy sleeper after a long surgery, and so, I just let him sleep. And so she called me back a couple hours later and said that that he would been moved to ICU because he had a stroke, and it was affecting his left side. So I said that I would be up in the morning. I'd be up first thing in the morning, back up at the hospital, up at the VA, because they needed me there because I was his power of attorney, and I was his healthcare representative. So I called people, let them know what was going on. Just packed up everything, because by then at my parents' house I was living out of a suitcase. I had a suitcase and a box of stuff at my parents' house. The rest was in storage. And so the night before, I just got everything clean and I packed it up in the car and I left. And anyways, the first couple of days he slept. But when he finally started coming around, kind of waking up, answering questions, not so in a fog. We had been moved from the VA over to OHSU by that point. He asked me where I was staying, and I told him that I was at the Fisher House over in Vancouver. And he said, well, why are you there? And I said, because I wanted to be close to you. And one thing that I will say the night that I got the call about the stroke was that I have my list of priorities, and I wasn't going to change that. I wasn't going to change the fact that my mental health was priority number one. And however, I did make a vow to him. I vowed that I would be there, and in this life and the next. And I had to stand behind my vows, and I was tied to him, and I couldn't just walk away. That's not who I am. And so, we went through the rehab process, and I will say his attitude changed towards me that time around. I didn't feel the hatred that I felt at the end when we split up before I moved out. I felt like there was looking at it now, I think he knew what was coming. I think he had, in a way, was finding peace. Because there was a change in him. There was a change in the way he treated me. And there was a change in the way I treated him, too. I wasn't going to let him talk down to me. I wasn't going to let him yell at me. I wasn't going to just be a punching bag. And I know in the years that we had together and dealing with the cancer and the chemo and the appointments and just all of it, I know that he had his own demons that he had to deal with. It just sucked that I also had my own demons, and our demons did not dance well together. But I think that at the end, he and I found forgiveness. There was appreciation. So, back to why I started this video. Joby was the hardest man I ever loved. However, I feel like in the way that he treated me, I found a way to love myself even harder. I understand my values. I understand my beliefs a lot more than what I used to. I know what I am worth. And it's not dependent on another person. The 9, 10, 11 months that I lived on my own without anybody here, it showed me a lot about myself. I was able to journal. And cry and not feel judged, not feel like this isn't a right time to cry. If I was home, I was home. I was safe. It was my place to be. And I am so thankful that I didn't succeed 2 years ago today. My grandkids are freaking awesome. I'm loving my body again because I finally am at a point mentally that I was able to take care of myself physically. And I am learning what a healthy relationship looks like. And I will say it is weird, you know, not having to worry about, oh, I slammed the door too hard. Oh, the trash isn't done. Oh, the dishes aren't done yet. It just, all the little crap. It's just, it's not a fight. And I am so thankful for that. And I don't feel like I have to change me for anyone anymore. And I love that. So, this went way longer than I anticipated. But Know your worth. Know you're wanted. And know that you're loved beyond what your eyes can see.